Hi, it's Charisse again, and we are going to start on pillar 2, which is elimination and detoxification. I know most of you guys think of elimination simply as having bowel movements, but elimination and detoxification is a concerted joint effort between both our gastrointestinal system and our liver. And the liver plays a critical role in helping us detoxify the 15 tons of pesticides, environmental toxins, things that we get from our food, from microwaving and plastics, all of these exposures. Our liver helps again detoxify and get rid of these things. You've heard me mention before that gastrointestinal disorders affect more people in the United States than cancer, AIDS, and heart disease combined. So there's over 74% of all Americans suffering from some type of digestive disorder, and it's been going on for longer than 6 months. That's why we're here on section number 2, and thank you very much for joining me. I'm going to turn off the video because unfortunately for you guys, there are a lot of slides here, so I'm going to try to run through them pretty quickly. This is a more intense section than that first section on digestion and just an overview of the gastrointestinal system. Okay, so here we go. Pillar number 2. Again, 14 pounds, pesticides, herbicides, food additives, and preservatives. At the end of this program, I'm going to share with you a toxicity questionnaire that I want you to review and score yourself. You just need to know that we need to restore our body's ability to cleanse itself. And get rid of toxins. It's if you think of half of a glass of water, this represents the capability of our liver on a daily basis to detoxify what we're exposed to. Well, what if another entire glass of water was poured into our half glass already full? Obviously, the glass would not be able to handle that extra. And that's the same concept with our liver not being able to handle the extra toxins and toxic burden, especially these days that our body is exposed to. So what happens if you're overexposed? Obviously, your body cannot handle that extra burden placed on it. So again, we're going to talk about detoxification. Some of you will need to actually consider a formal detoxification program that I can recommend to you. Some of you may need a more in-depth individual consultation with me, but I want you to make a commitment to give your liver a break and let our liver function optimally. So here's an alarming statistic. A bowling ball is about 16 pounds. Think about strapping on that ball and carrying it around. We are all exposed to over 100 chemicals in the morning before we walk out the door, from lotions, hair care, dry cleaning on our clothes, bathing, our breakfast food that we eat, microwaving again in plastic. So that's pretty alarming that we are strapping all those toxins on and carrying them around every day, hence the need to detoxify. Again, we've talked overall, the pillars of GI health or digestion. We're on the elimination detox section. Our microbial or microflora gastrointestinal microbiome balance and our gut integrity. Again, we healthcare folks usually look at elimination. Detox and looking at the liver is elimination. But just as an aside, a good rudimentary way to assess your ability of detoxing, we all need to have 2 to 3 soft, well-formed bowel movements every day. So what are toxins? Foreign substances. They add burden to our liver. It's really any substance that's harmful to our body. And when our GI tract does not function as well as it should, we have extra burden on that liver. Again, toxins are fat soluble and they are attracted and stored in the fatty portion of our cells throughout the body. So where do all these come from? Well, roll down your car window on a nice day and see the truck right next to you with exhaust fumes, traffic in general. If you live in the country, we still have toxins floating in the air. For example, chemicals, pesticides. We live in a rural agricultural area of Texas, so there's plenty of exposure, unfortunately. My grandfather and great uncle were painters by trade, so I was exposed to numerous solvents growing up. So you have to think about what you were exposed to when you grew up. A gentleman I graduated with from high school many years ago, he is a landscaper. He also is a recovered alcoholic. So think about that guy's liver and how it has been trashed really for the last 20, 30 years. Incidentally, the exposure to all of those environmental toxins and poor sleep habits for him gave him quite a low testosterone level. So that makes these things relevant to all of us. So we're not unique. 100% of people biopsied their fat. 100% of folks showed these three chemicals: PCBs, dichlorobenzene, and xylene. You've heard of toxic polyneuropathy. That's from PCBs or polychlorinated biphenyls. That can cause neuropathy. It's toxic to the peripheral nervous system. Just know that 100% of us on biopsy showed that in our the fat that they biopsied from our cells. So you think, well, am I really at risk? Well, hello, have you touched a piece of paper today? Dioxins and PCBs from carbonless copy paper, ink, paint, furnishing. Xylene is from plastic carpeting, furnishings. Styrene is from the outgas from our computer, and those everyday plastics. I cringe now when I think of all the plastic water bottles that we go through, and the plastics that our peanut butter is in, construction glue, our ketchup with our high fructose corn syrup. Kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies. We think of our home as our fortress and our safe place, but in reality, we're exposed to, again, over 100 chemicals before you get out the door in the morning, and over 500 chemicals every day. Toxins that we are exposed to add to our aging process and free radical release in our bodies. And again, it's the free radicals that contribute to aging and disease. Again, dry cleaning. Anybody know of a dry cleaner that uses organic chemicals here in town? Just wearing a newly dry cleaned suit can give us measurable levels of chemicals in our bloodstream. That's kind of cringeworthy, especially for the poor folks that are working in that's their job. Atrazine is used on our crops. Again, we're in a rural area. It can cause harm and it can add to weight gain. Atrazine interferes with how efficiently the mitochondria in our cell, that's the powerhouse or the engine of the cell, and atrazine keeps the mitochondria from functioning as efficiently as it should. Folks that have a heavy exposure to atrazine gain weight. They're generally obese and insulin resistant. And insulin resistance, as you know, can lead to diabetes over time. Again, used in our crops, and you can kind of look in the upcoming map right here of the United States that right along that coastal region, you see some specks of red. We're close there. Again, atrazine is just one herbicide that we use on our crops. It's not Roundup per se. Roundup has caused not just non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, but there are studies that it also can lead to pancreatic tumors, renal cell cancer, Parkinson's disease. Glyphosate is a chemical name for the active ingredient in Roundup. It's now politically correct to saying glyphosate when you refer to Roundup or its generic equivalent. Just know it's a bad player. Again, lifestyle toxins. We girls like lovely smelling lotion. It's our skincare, nicotine, alcohol, caffeine, prescription drugs, and over-the-counter drugs. I'm going to show you a chart of prescription meds later that deplete nutrients that are necessary to detoxify. Our liver needs them. So we may need to clean house. The skin is our largest organ, And what we apply ends up in our body, in our fat cells. The average man utilizes 6 personal care products a day, and we girls 12 daily. Again, we have up to over 100 potential exposures daily, and yearly over 46,000 chemical exposures. So do me a favor and go through the products in your cabinet and look for these 3 topical, quote, junk foods. Paraben, which is a hormone disruptor, dimethicone, which is a hormone disruptor, and sodium lauryl sulfate, which is frequently in toothpaste and shampoo to create the SUDS action. These are all harmful to our body. So don't be naive. Water is not just pure 100% water. It can have thousands of chemicals. Again, we get mercury, pesticide runoff from farms, and heavy usage of Roundup. There's heavy metal exposure. Analytics look at the topography of our land to change runoff. They advocate for this. So all those environmentalists, they're not some crazy whack jobs that maybe we thought they were 20, 25 years ago. We need to invest in purer and cleaner water, because just think of the amount of exposures that we have every day. And what about the food? What about the soil that our food is actually grown in? Again, keep to the outer perimeter of the grocery store. Stay away from canned goods. Try to shop organic. I know that can be cost prohibitive for some, but I'm going to give you a list for at least a few things that absolutely have to be organic. The middle of the grocery store is definitely junk. Here's our dirty dozen. These are the ones that you really want to think about organic, if at all possible. These 12 apples have polyphenols inside of them. You can't wash them enough. You need to kind of splurge on organics on this list. So just because you've increased spinach and kale in your diet does not mean that you're necessarily doing yourself loads of goods if these things are not organic. You look at chlorine bleach. We all have that in our house. Petroleum distillates. Ammonia, phenol, cresol, nitrobenzene, which is in furniture and floor polishes. I'm running through these quickly. You're going to have these slides available to you, so I don't want to put you to sleep. Just want to highlight the massive amounts of exposure we have. Formaldehyde is used as a preservative in many household products. Naphthalene is in mothballs. It's a suspected carcinogen that can damage our eyes, blood cells, liver, kidneys, skin, nervous system. Sodium acid sulfate, hydrochloric acid in toilet bowl cleaners. These are all exposures that are so dangerous for us. It takes only an average of about 26 seconds for typical household chemicals to get into our bloodstream, and that's the toxic burden that we're here to talk about, and the need for detoxification and elimination. We all think outdoor air is the worst, but not necessarily. Internal toxins, yes, we talk about that in my practice a great deal. Even our good bugs, their byproducts can produce toxins that we need to get rid of from our body. Stress is a toxin. Again, free radicals they're just a byproduct from our body doing what it needs to do every day. That is a toxin. The liver has to process these things. So with all of the stress, our food toxins, environmental toxins, free radicals, all these are issues for our bodies. So aren't you feeling sorry for your liver yet? I am. So again, if I've not given you enough information yet to convince you about your need to detox, I want you to take the questionnaire at the end of this, available in this module, and look for these signs. Are you having constipation, bloating, diarrhea, nausea, heartburn, elevated cholesterol? What's your weight doing? How does your skin look? Fatigue, mood disorders, dark circles under your eyes. That is one I see and work with frequently. Asthma, frequent infections. Are you the person that always gets the cold and the flu? The colds every year, flus every year. Muscle and joint pain. Are you not sleeping well? The more sensitive you are, the more your body is crying out to you. Please think about detoxification. Again, they actually did biopsies on umbilical cords, and this is crazy scary. The average umbilical cord blood contains 217 neurotoxins. 208 of them can cause birth defects. Yes, they're teeny tiny amounts, but they're not going to get less. They're not going to get lessened unless we do something about it. I just want to highlight this is how burdened our detoxification capacity is. The body's storing it, passing it along. It's in umbilical cord blood. Scary enough. So what's up with this? We have over 30 to 50 tons of food that we are exposed to during our lifetime. The more toxic we are, the more difficulties and the less healthy functioning I see of your gastrointestinal tract, malabsorption, you're more toxic. So the least expensive, least invasive way to approach our gastrointestinal health as a first line, and I do think of it often in my practice formally when people I see individually, is to think about putting them on a 7-day or a 14-day detox first. So just to wrap around your brain around this concept, it can be a little tough. Look at this slide going from left to right, and you'll identify with this. When we're dieting and exercising, we have all these toxins in storage in our fat cells, remember, because they're fat soluble. When we lose some weight, the toxins are now compressed. They have less area to spread out over. So that's our body's protective mechanism. When it's exposed to toxins, it distributes them amongst our fat cells. We lose and you've heard of the plateau before when we're on our diet. That's our body saying, whoa, I'm not going to give up any more of these fat cells because I really need them to store toxins in. So unless you participate in something to revitalize your liver function, you're going to be spinning your wheels. You've got to kick your body out of preservation mode because it's going, wait a second, I have got to keep these fat cells here because I've got to keep the human body safe. So we can get to the point where we have less toxins in storage, be lean and mean, giving our ability, our liver, a greater ability to handle more toxins in storage. And you can see that as you follow over to the right. When we detoxify, it gives our body permission to let those fat cells go. So what are the roles of the liver? It stores glucose in the form of glycogen for energy, as an energy source. It produces and secretes bile. That's a transport ship that carries many toxins out of our body. Bile also lubricates our stool. Liver filters the blood, and it's our primary organ of detoxification. And the liver has two parts in this detox process, phase 1, phase 2. When we ingest a toxin, it's a foreign substance, and our body's job is to convert it into something that's not harmful. Many times, if you've heard of folks that have detoxed, they'll tell you, man, I got nauseated, I had a headache. That can happen because the toxin gets quote unquote stuck between phase 1 and phase 2 as an intermediary metabolite. That is why it's important to have some guidance on a detoxification program, because I don't want to make you feel worse rather than better. But getting something stuck between phase 1 and phase 2, that substance is actually more toxic than the original fat soluble toxin. That's why we need phase 2 of the detox pathway. So phase 2 is when things that you have broken down in phase 1, that intermediary metabolite, it needs to be further what we call conjugated to make it non-toxic and water soluble, so then we can either urinate it out or have a bowel movement in order to get it out. Again, look from left to right. Biotransformation stands for taking something and converting it to something else. So the detox pathway is a biotransformation pathway. From a scientific standpoint, it means phase 1, we add an attachment site to the toxin chemically and convert it to intermediary metabolite. Again, it's stuck there, and if we let it get stuck there, then we get the headaches, the nausea, and we actually feel more poorly until we make sure we have enough of those phase 2 nutrients that enable the metabolite to get to phase 2 to make it water soluble and then be eliminated either through our bowels, as in a bowel movement or stool, or through our kidneys, as in our urine. Again, before I leave the slide, see the hexagons with the micronutrients? Think of all the prescription medicines that we're on that deplete us of those nutrients. So how in the heck can our liver detox properly? We have to have the appropriate micronutrients, polyphenols, and amino acids to support phase 2 elimination. And again, it's kind of a vicious cycle. Toxins deplete the necessary nutrients, then you don't have them and you get more toxin buildup. Again, different folks that have different individual capacity to detoxify. So this actually is a blank slide, so that's not supposed to be here. There we go. That looks better. If you are on a pharmaceutical, if you're on a prescription, pay really close attention. Many prescription meds deplete those key nutrients that you saw in the hexagon on the other slide. A lot of these medications deplete the key nutrients, your B vitamins, B6, B12, folic acid. Magnesium is a big one. Most of us don't. 75% of us are depleted in magnesium, or deficient rather in magnesium anyways, because of our poor food sources. Again, birth control pills, they affect methylation pathways. We have to provide the correct nutrition to keep our liver functioning optimally. This is a particular 7-day program that I use a lot in my practice to help my patients detox. You may or may not need a formal program like this. I'm guessing that you do, especially the many men I take care of that work at some of the chemical plants. It's critical for them to be on a routine detoxification program. So let's talk about it a little bit. So again, the goal is to remove toxic burden. The first 2 days of this particular program is a modified fast where we just have a particular protein powder that we drink a couple of times a day and some supplemental nutrients. That is kind of the clean out phase. We can this particular program reintroduces food day 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, but it's the first 2 days that is actually a modified fast to basically give your body a break and remove incoming burden of toxins. That's the primary function of that first 2-day fast. Again, you think about the 30 to 50 tons of food that we're exposed to every year. Obviously, some of us on the 50-ton food side, maybe our weight's not as desirable as we need it to be. Those first 2 days in this particular program, you're just on that core support dietary supplement. It's a meal replacement. And then we add in multivitamin, and that PhytoCore has some specific nutrients for the liver to get things out of that intermediary metabolite from phase 1 to phase 2 program. Again, core support gives us protein and fiber that we need, and it upregulates phase 2 enzymes. It's getting us ready, and it can increase cellular energy. It also has fiber in it to break down toxins. Multivitamin, that is what it is. It addresses deficiency of those micronutrients that I talked to you about. And it also has antioxidants to combat free radicals in this particular multivitamin, so that you're not exposed to those harmful free radicals. And day 3, we introduce PhytoCore. It helps break down fat. There's also botanicals in this product that increase production of bile that's produced in the liver and stored in the gallbladder. So luckily in the kit, there's also a patient guide that's our roadmap of what to eat, what not to eat on day 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Just know that our body needs some of these other tools to support our detox program. Again, there's also a roadmap that tells you what to go shopping for, what foods to eat, what to avoid. We avoid when we're detoxing peanut protein, soy protein, egg protein, and gluten. Um, there's day-by-day suggestions. There's day-by-day recipes. Um, the cool thing is when you make a commitment to a 7-day detox, and I have actually a 5-day detox I use in my practice as well. This is just one that I've had really nice success with patients. When you get the positive feedback about how much better you feel, you can extend it longer. And I encourage my patients to do so anyway, because the foods and the meal plans in this particular program are healthy for us anyway. Again, I work with folks individually to see if they need a formal program like this. There's also definite foods to avoid. I already mentioned them: canned veggies, canned fruits, and heavy syrup, your peanuts, your soy nuts, your dairy, and eggs. Again, think of the commitment of 7 days. Anybody can do anything for 7 days, and the payoff is grand. Um, the payoff is grand. You're going to note how much better you feel. Again, there's an example of some sample meal plans and some recipes, which are pretty cool to incorporate um, anyways into to kind of mix it up. So there's actually, again, a summary calendar for people to look at in this particular program. Here's the protocol again. Here's your first 2 fasting days with a meal replacement, and your day 3 to 7 where you add your supplements in. Here's benefits of a detox. You are benefiting your entire body because we are releasing those stored toxins in the fat cells. Obviously, you already figured out, because I talked about the weight plateau that we often see when we've gone on a quote unquote diet. A detox will free us up from the body. It'll free your body up from thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to protect this person from toxins, so I need to hold on to this person, the fat cells. So that's another particularly gratifying benefit. So what is your homework when we talk about elimination and detox? Track your bowel movements, okay? Write them down. Go into your lifestyle journal on Practice Better. Log your water intake, log your bowel movement intake. Remember, 2 to 3 soft, well-formed bowel movements daily are a sign that your gastrointestinal system is functioning well, and you are getting an A on elimination and detoxification. However, caution, the patients that I see for individual consults, I can name probably in the last 5 years, fewer than fingers on one of my hands, fewer than 5 people that came in and say, oh yeah, I have 2 to 3 soft bowel movements every day without trouble. We don't see that. I want you to take this toxicity questionnaire. Consider a formal detox kit if you score greater than 31. I am happy to review it. Another homework assignment: review the canned foods you have in your pantry. I want you to donate, okay, I put all here, but let's say 90% of your canned veggies and fruits need to go to the food pantry. Take a picture of your neater, cleaner pantry shelves and send that picture to me. Again, sync your Fitbit with your food and lifestyle journal. Track your sleep, track your bowel movements. Exercise helps elimination. We all know that. When I have someone exercising routinely, there's better odds that they're going to be able to report happy bowel movements to me. I'm going to send out an invitation on FullScript, which is a pharmaceutical supplement program, for you to consider purchasing a 7-day detox program if you are the person that needs to consider a formal program. Always know that I am here for individual consultations as well. I'm going to wrap up pillar number 2. I apologize for having to run through all those slides so quickly. This was a little bit more in depth of a program. But the main thing I want you to do is come away with this thinking, I really need to have some mercy on my liver. I never realized how important it is. The liver is not just involved in detoxifying alcohol, the toxin a lot of us are really familiar with. Look at all your daily exposures and feel sorry for that liver and know I have got to help he or she is a liver female or male, detoxify and support that system. You will feel better for it, and your health, you'll definitely feel better for it. Thanks so much. I appreciate you spending some time with me today.